All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to this presentation. I am Rex Harden, the mayor of Pompano Beach, in case you don't recognize me, and that's okay if you don't, that's fine. We are here for a very important meeting this evening to find out about the future of our city. That's really what this is about. Before I go any further, though, I want to introduce a fellow of mine that we work together every day to try and make this city the best it can possibly be, and that's my city commissioner, as a matter of fact, Allison Fournier, District 3 City Commissioner. As she likes to say, District 3 is the place to be, and I live in District 3, so I have to agree, but I represent the entire city. Also, I'd like to recognize former City Commissioner Tom McMahon. Tom's over there on the side. Thank you, Tom. Also with us this evening, we've got our city manager, Greg Harrison. He's up there, and we also have some, yes, thank you, Greg. Also have various other city officials, assistant city managers, and so forth. So we're here to make this a great beginning. What we're here for tonight really is an information session so we can get the word out about what is going on in the city of Pompano Beach, what the plans are going forward, the preliminary plans. And I say preliminary plans because that's exactly what it is. We are embarking on a journey which has been in the vision process for over 30 years now. We, the city, have been accumulating property in the northwest section of our city. It goes from basically the intersection of Dixie Highway and Atlantic Boulevard all the way over to I-95 and all the way north to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. So that rectangle of space, the city has been focused for many, many years to accumulate land in that area with the vision that eventually we would have an opportunity to move forward and really create something very dynamic for our city, and that's a downtown, and that's what we're talking about doing going forward. And we've gone through a process, a couple of times we've gone through a process to look for partners to join with us in our vision to move Pompano Beach forward. And this is really going to be an economic game changer for our city. It's we've got a great city overall. We've got various areas of our city, but this is going to be the economic engine that keeps us going for decades into the future, and that's really what this is about. So now we've put out RFPs and all this kind of stuff, and finally we've come to this point where we have some partners that we believe we can move forward with, and that's the folks that are right here next to me, and that's RocaPoint. They've got a track record, they've got a history, they've done this elsewhere, they've put forth their financials, we've investigated, so we've gotten to the point where we have selected, we being the city overall, has selected our partners, but we haven't actually inked the deal yet, so to speak. There's a lot of details yet to go into the plan, yet to go into the actual document that's going to bind us together. We kind of like to think of it and talk about it, really, we're engaged right now, but we're not yet married. Okay, so it takes some work to get through that engagement stage to get where we're ready to say, okay, we're married, we're going to move forward together for decades, and that's what this is all about right now, is kind of going through these motions to figure out what their plans are, what their ideas are, but also for us to tell them what we think, to give our input, because this is our city, this is our vision, this is our chance to really make a difference. These folks are here, they're going to do what they think is right, but they're going to follow our direction, of course, if it's economically feasible, because it's our town. So that's what this is really about. So it's exciting. They're going to give a presentation. After the presentation, we're going to have an opportunity for you guys to give input. If you have questions, ask those questions. Now, they can't answer all the questions. Excuse me. They can't answer all the questions at this point in time because we don't have all the answers right now. That is yet to be determined as we go down this road. But they, excuse me, but they will answer anything they possibly can. Now, we have city staff here. They're going to be listening to what's going on also. And if there's anything that they can't answer, please feel free to come up after the meeting and just get with city staff and give them your name and telephone number or contact information, and we will try to get the information back to you as soon as we can get that information. So all of your questions can't be answered. Hopefully a lot of them will, but we're really looking for input from you also, input on their presentation, input on your ideas, input on what you want to see in the city of Pompano Beach going forward. I hope you're going to be excited as we are with city staff staff and city administration about the future of our city. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Phil Mays and Danielle Handy from RocaPoint Developers, and they're going to take it from here. Thank you all very much for being here. Appreciate your help and support in this project. Thank you. Phil, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm Phil Mays, principal at RocaPoint, and with me is Danielle Handy, who's integral to all our projects on the project management and government side. We're really happy to be here tonight, and been in and out of Pompano Beach now many times over the last several months as we've been working on the front end of this project. I had a couple of housekeeping items that I was asked to talk about, which is number one, that as you can see, we're being recorded tonight for the city's purpose, so it's on their website, so people can look at this meeting later, or people who weren't able to attend. So just for everyone to know that. We're going to go through a video and then some of our slides, and at the end, we're, as the mayor said, happy to answer all the questions that we can at this point. And we should have at least I would think, a pretty good idea of most of them, hopefully. But in any event, I think what we'll start with, and we've learned that this is a valuable thing to do on different projects of this scale. And as RocaPoint, our company is focused on pretty complex mixed-use developments and placemaking, which this certainly qualifies for. And very interesting projects that become the center of communities and really a place, as the mayor said, that people would be going for decades. And so this definitely qualifies. And we've found as we've gone through these projects in different places that a lot of times, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a video is worth, believe me, a lot more. And so we go to a lot of trouble to go ahead with an architectural firm we use to look at how the massing of the videos might work, or how the massing of the buildings might look, and we go ahead and translate that to video along with the streetscape. And again, the aesthetics can be changed to really anything, but this is a pretty good picture of what this downtown area that we're looking at can look like. It is, based on the property boundaries that are here, and is a good look at where we think the project is going. And we think, well, the architecture and colors and things like that can change that as a good look of what the property could look like. And again, with different massing and sizing of buildings, of course, and different streetscapes, but this certainly is a possibility. And the goal here is to get something, with community input and the city's input and so on, that is working for everybody. That's something that's inclusive, that is a place where, people that live within walking distance and all over the city and the county and area feel that they can go as a real destination location of somewhere where your people want to be. And with that, I'll turn it over to Danielle for several slides here, and I'll pick it up a little bit towards the end.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate the introduction. My name is Danielle Handy. I'm the Government Relations and Development Manager for RocaPoint Partners. I really appreciate everyone being here tonight. It's a privilege to be able to share this thought with you all and be able to give you some feedback on what we've contemplated here with several months of interaction with the City of Pompano Beach on this very, very important project. I know that the last time that we did a thorough presentation in front of the public on this project was back in May, and so I wanted to take the opportunity to reacquaint you all with RocaPoint Partners, who we are, what types of projects that we do, and then also go through some of the Pompano Beach master plan concepts with you all. So with that, these here are 4 separate projects that we have worked on for several years in various parts of the Southeast. The top left project is Halcyon. It's a mixed-use project in Alpharetta, Georgia. The top right is the PGA Tour Global Home Headquarters located in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. The bottom left is a large mixed-use project in Greenville, South Carolina, and on the bottom right is a project known as Campus 244 in Dunwoody, Georgia. So just to give you some details on our project in Greenville, it's a 40-acre site. It's 3.5 million square feet, of which a large portion of it is looking at Class A office, also retail, multifamily, and also hotels. So that's something that at RocaPoint we really focus on, is these mixed-use integrated type projects and developments. This is a master plan of that particular project, and the reason we want to include this slide in here is to share with you how important all of the master planning is for these projects, making sure that you've thought about interconnectivity and what do your streetscapes look like, and how does this road network relate to existing development that's adjacent. So for example, in this slide, there's a really beautiful park that's just north of Greenville County Square. And we wanted to make sure we had a multi-use trail that connected to this park, and also a very lengthy 20-mile plus Swamp Rabbit Trail, multi-use trail that is heavily utilized by the city of Greenville and the residents that live there. Moving on, actually I did want to point out one other thing. In this particular project, what we had built for Greenville County was a 250,000 square foot administrative office building for them to house all of their public officials in. And that's really the anchor of this particular project. And adjacent to it, it's the retail and the office and residential that really culminate into this mixed-use project. These are some of the renderings that we've proposed for our Greenville County Square project, and again, these are renderings. Right now we are starting to do all of our horizontal work at County Square. We're starting to get going on one of our office buildings. We're going to be vertical here shortly, and so this is just to give you an example of the types of intricate mixed-use projects that we work on. Here's some multifamily in our Greenville project. The next project is Halcyon, and this is one that's really near and dear to my heart. I've been working on this project for 6 years, and it's really a wonderful project. In total, it's 135 acres. We purchased it in 2016. This project, too, has a greenway component. It is a 1.5 mile extension that we built that added to the existing greenway here, which was 12 plus miles. We built a trailhead, bathrooms, parking, as an amenity to the community. The project, upon completion, will have about 2 million square feet of mixture of uses, including residential, 300,000 square foot of office, 300,000 square feet of retail, and also hotel uses. Our first phase opened in 2019. And so what I think is really unique about our project is that we have a majority of our retailers being local, small businesses, and that's something we're very proud of. In this project, 65% of our retail tenants are actually minority or women-owned businesses. We make sure that this project is a reflection of that local community. We have 21 food and beverage outlets in this development. We also have 30 local boutiques, including women's boutiques, dog boutiques, and a variety of like furniture and design type uses. Again, we have a very, interesting project because it's a multitude of uses that are all combined on this project, especially with the living component, with the apartments, senior living, and that type, and single family and townhome development. The other really important part of this project is community. We have over 50 charitable events at this site every single year. We do food drives, we support our local schools. We also have nonprofit organizations that are participating in our charity events. In addition to that, we have about 300 on-site activations each year. And what I mean by that are things like cornhole. We have cornhole on Wednesdays and Saturdays at our project up in Alpharetta, and this is to get people to come to our site and visit our site. We also have dog day events. We have craft beer festivals. We have farmers markets. These are all things that create interest and activate the property, and it makes people from all around Alpharetta and the Atlanta metro area come to our site so that they can participate and be part of something that's vibrant and energetic. Again, with our Halcyon project, we're the only built LEED neighborhood development in Georgia. We have preserved more than 50 acres of open space and also participated in a lot of wetland conservation. We've added public trails to the open space. Again, our tenants, 21 food and beverage, with about 60% of our tenants being minority and or female-owned businesses. And I think what's really great about that is when you have participation from your local community in your project, people are invested, your community is invested, and it's really been something very exciting and fulfilling to see people gather around this project and really embrace it as their own. In the last few years, we have had 2 million plus visitors just in this last year. We have over 60,000 social media followers, and our average dwell time is 3+ hours. And the reason that's important is because when you create a mixed-use development, you want people to have a reason to come to the property, and you want them to stay. You want them to not just come for dinner or not just go to grab something at a retail store. You want them to go and spend time at the different shops that are there. So maybe after they're done having dinner, they'll go and grab an ice cream from the local ice cream shop. Or maybe they want to stick around and listen to the local band play for a couple hours while they're enjoying a beverage and letting their kids play in the green area. And that's really been the key element to our success at Halcyon. And a lot of these elements, I think, are something we see being completely applicable here with this project as well, which we're really excited to be able to incorporate those elements because it's been a major success in our other project in Alpharetta. I wanted to take a moment just to talk about our local business owners. You've heard me mention several times that we're very local in this project. The gentleman on the top left has a dumplings restaurant, and it's a small 700 square foot space in our food hall. He's one of our most successful tenants in our project. It's massively popular. People come from all over the place to try his dumplings. The gentleman that's in the middle, top row, third from the right, he has a very popular restaurant. They serve burgers, beer. They have the sports, games showing on TVs. Very successful, operator. The lady on the top right, she has her own interior home design and furniture store that's very successful. The bottom middle slide is a hot dog factory. It's another tenant that's in our food hall, 700 square feet. And all of these individuals are local. And that's what's really great about it, is that we have this opportunity for people to participate in this project and see their dreams become part of, reality, basically. So I wanted to talk a couple minutes just about our activations at Halcyon. I mentioned this a moment ago. We have several activations throughout the year. This is 300 throughout the year. The bottom two photos are basically our Doggy Doodle Day. This is a very successful event at Halcyon. tons of people will enter their doodles and other dogs into a contest, and then people vote on which dog is the cutest. But believe me, it's a very successful event. We also have events that are focused around the holidays, so Christmas, Hanukkah, all different types of festive activities during that type of year that really do a tremendous job of activating the property, bringing guests to the site that frequent all of our shops. This is Tropical Nights. We have an 80s night bar crawl. We have goat yoga, which is also very successful at Halcyon. The bottom right side is, again, our 80s bar crawl. We have a Galentine's event. Actually, we have one that's going to be taking place here soon, just in a week or so. But Galentine's, where all of the ladies get together. They have a ladies' night out. They dress up. They have a lovely dinner together. They do arts and crafts. It's just a very exciting way of activating our properties. This is also a really funny one. We have the Grinch. So we have an ugly sweater crawl, and this Grinch basically frequents all of our restaurants, and it's a little bit of a menace to some of our guests, but everybody enjoys the good fun and humor in it all. The next project I wanted to talk about is our PGA Tour. We are the tour's development partner. This is a master plan of 180 acres. It was only used for parking about once a week for the Players Tournament, Sawgrass. We completed this building in 2021. This is the tour's new office headquarters. It's called the Global Home. Prior to this, they were located in about 17, 18 offices throughout all of Ponte Vedra area. It was really hard for the tour to, function with their office because everyone was so spread out. So we worked with them for several years with Foster & Partners, internationally recognized architect, to design this building, build-to-suit for the tour so that they could have everyone housed in one office facility. And it's a really great build-out. And the reason we're including this as part of our projects is we want to just be able to demonstrate our breadth of work and scope to show that, even something that's as sophisticated as this, we're able to execute on in a meaningful way. And by the way, people come from all over the world to view these buildings because Foster & Partners is such a recognized architect. This is the second building that we're working on for PGA Tour. It is a new studios building. This building is currently under construction. It is also a Foster & Partners building. We're hoping to see this project complete here within the next year or so and become operational. We're very excited about it. It's a very, very intricate, comprehensive build-out. And the next project I just wanted to cover was Campus 244. This is our project that's located in Dunwoody, Georgia. This was a very interesting building, actually. This was the old Goldkist headquarters. And it was an obsolete building. It was vacant. Actually, they utilized it for, oddly enough, a lot of movies and shows. So when we went to go and tour the building, we're seeing all of these different, like ballet studios and, office groups. So the different Netflix shows that were filmed in this, building were very, very interesting. But regardless, we purchased this property in 2020. And we're basically revamping it, adaptive reuse, to utilize it for office build-out, also hotel, and then also adding new food and beverage. It's interesting component that's getting a lot of attention from the local area is the timber overbuild that we've included in this project. It's going to make for a very appealing office product from like a creative Class A office space. And to that end, two of the top 3 largest office leases in all of Atlanta were for this building in 2022. So it's been a massively successful building, and we're really excited and proud of how it's starting to shape up. And not to mention, we also managed to save 6 million tons of carbon by reusing the building, which is also a really important element of this particular project. Which brings me to Pompano Beach. So as you all are aware, this project, the ITN was issued for it in June of 2022. In the interim, we have been meeting with city and CRA staff, where we learned the desires and vision of the city as well as the community. We've also created a model and options to help with the vision. We've proposed structures to the team. And in October of 2023, we were awarded the right to become part of the team. And now we're at that point in the process where we are holding community meetings. Our next step will be to continue to coordinate with the team to work on a development framework for the development agreement between us and the city and the CRA. This is our master plan scope. As you can see, it includes the three different quadrants of the property, downtown phase 1, Old Town, as well as where we're currently standing, downtown phase 2. And we want to recognize that all three of these phases are very important in the interconnectivity between all of them and how they together work together. We want to create options and have it be a versatile concept for our master plan. And again, I just want to reiterate, this is a conceptual master plan. Nothing is set in stone. This is how we see, a master plan really working from a connectivity standpoint, incorporating stormwater features and making those an amenity, interconnectivity, the pedestrian friendliness of it, where you can incorporate public art, where you can include parking. There's a lot of different elements to this master plan that were thought about in its layout, but again, it's a very conceptual, site plan at this point in the process, which is standard for these types of developments. Again, in terms of parking needs, we're looking at how we can spread out the parking across the project in key locations that are strategic based off of access for Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, Atlantic Boulevard, and also Dixie Highway. And then we're looking at our transportation options, which is really important in this particular project. We want to look at all different modes of transportation to capitalize on. We're looking at things like, the commuter rail that we know is very close by to this property, the Northeast Transit Station for bus access. Also, Uber has been very popular, and we know that that's something that will also be, part of this project into the future. And then also Circuit and how that can be utilized to help provide access maybe from this site to other key locations, maybe even to the beach. And then, of course, our locations of parking garages and how people are accessing. And all of this is to say, we really feel live, work, play is a very strong component for these types of projects where people can live here, work here, and also play here to reduce trips on the overall road network in the surrounding area. Again, I just want to emphasize we recognize the importance of connecting all four of these quadrants so that it is walkable. And we know that the city has put a tremendous amount of effort and thought into trying to connect these areas in terms of, the Atlantic Highway and Dixie improvements that we've seen currently underway. We want to continue to capitalize on that and work in that vein toward trying to make this as walkable as possible so that people can safely cross the intersection. And with that, I'm going to hand this over to Phil.
Thanks. And hold on here. As we move forward with this project, this is really a partnership, and it's a partnership on management with the city, the CRA, and the developer, us of course. And so, the goal is to find the development and the planning of the development that works best for the community / the city, the CRA, and then of course, we need to make sure, and this is for the community and the city as well, that economically it's working, for everybody as well. It could be something that adds to the city. Aligning interests is a really important piece of the puzzle here, along with the economics. This new development, the new downtown, would include civic buildings, open spaces, public realm type spaces, and again, very fairly dense urban area with a tremendous amount of market value as far as taxable and so on. And really, really, number one, an interesting place to be, and a place for the people and families that live around here to go and have things to do that's interesting while contributing to the tax base and the quality of life in the city and the surrounding area. So, right now, not a lot of it's taxable as it's government owned or not in great shape, and so it'd just be really a juggernaut for taxes, which would help pay for obviously the parking and infrastructure and so on, as well as land sales that are around that are part of this development that would be really as a majority partner owned by the city and CRA, but those land sales would help pay for improvements and so on. But aligning interests is a big part of the puzzle between the different parties. Important also, I think, for the projects, it shows a lot of the economic components of it, are the facts, just the jobs and the opportunities that become available here. When if you can look at what's at the property right now versus what the potential is, the amount of quality jobs, and from an entry-level job of a front desk person onto executives, because you have office jobs coming. We would definitely envision a hotel here, hospitality, and again, it's from top to bottom, so it's for everyone on the jobs. But retail, obviously, an important piece of the development here, and really the creation of the place is, a lot of times it's really around food and beverage, around restaurants, cafes, coffee shops. So it's a place where people are wanting to be, and creating other things for people to do. In the public realm, as Daniel talked about, we believe that this would be a good place for a small, performing area just for local type of people, and that there's a lot of things that you can do to make it an interesting place to be. But again, there's just a really a large amount of jobs available and opportunities in a project like this. Financial services, tech and innovation, business owners, construction, obviously, on the front end would be very heavy. But it really is an economic engine in and of its own. And again, I think it's a lot of about, and we've seen it on the other projects like this, a lot of it is very, it's long-term partnerships between the city, the CRA, us as the developer, other governmental components that'll be important, the county, some of the state folks. And so it's really everyone getting as much as they can under the same boat and rowing in the same direction. And that's really the best chance to make for a successful project that's a project for everyone. And again, it's I think, as the mayor talked about, it's really a legacy opportunity. This is the opportunity to have a place where people will go, really for decades. The mayor talked about the economic part of it. For us, I think, as we're development similar to this, I think what's important to us is that it's a place where people go, that becomes a central place for people to go in that community. And that's really the goal here, is a central place for people want to be, for the entire community and for everyone. That's something for everyone. And again, as we talked about before, and actually all that activation that Danielle went through, it's not as expensive. I guess as a developer, we look at what's the cost to do all that activation. It really is not as much as you might think. The Cornhole was a cornhole league out of Atlanta that came up to the location of Halcyon in North Atlanta. They initially came up for one evening. They weren't sure what was going to happen. It actually became the largest league in the metro area, so much that they added another night. And so, you find as it's an interesting place to be, that you have all these other ancillary uses that would like to be there. And then we found with our little performing area at Halcyon that once the schools and different organizations figured out it was there, that we had a lot of just community activation there, where we're screening who's coming in, but really interesting, acts and music and things that are happening there. And then there's, people that we pay, just small groups to go up there, and a lot of times could just be a man or a woman with a piano or guitar. There's any number of things to do to activate it and get it vibrant. Streetscape, art and retail opportunities. Of course, the retail we consider restaurant and restaurant as well, and that's a big piece of the puzzle and development of people wanting to be there. As far as how it feels walking up and down the street, this architecture, this is just an example, and I don't think that would necessarily be here at all. But this is a kind of a blank palette where we can go ahead and say, this is what we're looking for as we're working with the city and the community, of course, along with the city, to say we think this should be what the streetscape looks like. Not this, but whatever it is. And here's the art that should be here, and here's what the cultural opportunity should be. And again, it's aligning the vision, and I think I've probably hit home on this enough, but obviously the community needs, the city, CRA, we're here to go ahead and help with who are the reasonable, tenants and the uses. We do think this is a very local type of place. It needs to be something that's a really interesting place to be, in Pompano Beach. There's plenty of places where you can go to national chains. There's not as many places like that house down development we have in North Atlanta, where you can go and find 20 local, and I don't even know if we have any regionals up there. It's probably all local restaurants, and that's why, candidly, probably why it does so well. And the office, our office is 100% leased there, and we're convinced, and we hear from the office tenants, the anchor who's Morgan Stanley, that they're there because they want the people that work there to have something to do, and it becomes a very attractive place for quality companies. Otherwise, I'll wrap it up with that, and I think we're ready for questions. We're happy to answer to the extent that we can. Any questions, and people are welcome to come down.
All right, folks. So yeah, this is our opportunity to ask questions, make comments. If people who want to make comments, questions, if you can please come forward, just use the microphone up there. Otherwise, everybody can't hear it. I know it's a little cumbersome to go up and down the steps, but that's the way we need to do it. Also, this is for the record. So please come on down. Just go up to the microphone. Just introduce yourself and have at it. Thank you.
Why don't you see if that mic's on too?
We need their name.
Oh, also, we need your name for the record because this is being recorded and it's official city record. All right, thank you.
Berger, I live in District 5 in Pompano Beach. Just curious, what's the big overall budget for this, and is it private or public funding for the project?
Yeah, on the public side would really only be government, type buildings. That would be on the public side, and those could be privately financed depending on what the government's wanting to do. And then on the private side, of course, if it's not a government or a civic building, then that's privately funded, obviously. So we wouldn't expect the city or CRA to own the private buildings.
What's the big picture budget? And I guess that's more for Rex.
Well, I don't know. Do you want that? Or?
Yeah, that is yet to be determined, to be honest with you. We haven't put the pencil to the paper yet. That's what this whole process is about. But as Mr. Mays was talking about, the private buildings, of course, those are going to be privately financed, privately owned, and that's going to be private. At City Hall or something like that, when we move over there, that's of course going to be publicly financed. But we'll figure the financing aspect out as we move forward. We're not yet there, to be honest with you. Thank you.
I think also we're trying to figure out needs still, kind of needs and what needs to happen.
Hi, my name is Ed Phillips. I currently reside at 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach. You got a lot of moving parts that's going to be going on here. My driving concern right now is how you're going to accumulate the data for people who want to be a part of this in terms of opportunities to work. And as you accumulate that data, would you be able to have committees or folks in the neighborhoods to help enhance the information that you presently may have for employment opportunities? Once again, there's going to be a lot of moving parts here, and part of what we want to do is ensure the spirit of inclusion.
Right. No, Ed, I appreciate that. And Daniel, I'll let you talk a little bit about that as well, because this is not an uncommon component to these larger scale developments. We have the same thing in Greenville, and we work a lot with our general contractors at the front end, who are really doing all the hiring, and then we also work with the city and county. I'll let you speak to it, because I'm sure I'll miss some of what happens. And so there's a lot of working on the government side to figure out what's out there already, and then in the areas we are, so here would be Broward County, Pompano, basically how do we get the general contractors, if it's a construction, to cast the widest net to make sure we're getting inclusion and an opportunity for everyone. And then as far as the development as a whole, was that one slide, we think there's just a magnitude of jobs from top to bottom that this will create, as far as opportunities out there. And then Daniel, I'll let you cover anything I did.
Thanks.
Oh, but there's a lot, and there's a lot on the front end, and the back end once the establishments are there. And so you're right, it's a commitment, I think, on both sides, as you're saying. But go ahead, sorry.
Thanks, Phil. And Mr. Phillips, thank you for your question. I think that's a very important question, and that's actually something that we've been talking with the city about. What exactly is that framework in order to continue to, as you call it, collect data? How are we going to find out, who's interested in, being part of this project, whether it's, starting their own small business or, being participating in the construction side of these things. So one of the things that, we're talking about with the city is, what is that framework for that continuing correspondence and communication, how we can make sure that, we're continuing to learn more about what the community wants and where they want to be included and how they want to participate. I know that that is something that's important to the city, and I'm sure that as this process evolves, we will have a lot more details on exactly how that unfolds, but we certainly appreciate the magnitude of what you're addressing, and we are excited about the different types of job creation that will come of this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. My name is Ed Straub from District 5, Palm Air. My question involves infrastructure. And a program of this nature is going to require a lot of infrastructure. Do the taxpayers pay that via their property taxes or by bonds? What's the process, and what's the time level and disruption of the local community that you anticipate? Thank you.
And so at this point, I wouldn't say that we've settled on any type of exact plan of what the infrastructure is or how it's going to flow or so on. And then as far as from the city part is the funding, they would really need to answer that. But there's nothing set in stone as to what the infrastructure requirement is until we get further down the road on planning. I can certainly appreciate your question.
But
go ahead.
But again, is this something that the city is looking towards the taxpayers fronting as far as the infrastructure, or is this going to be done by a bond, or is it going to be done by grants?
I can say one thing real quick, because in Greenville there was a split between us as a developer and them in that location, and we've done it every kind of way. And so it's really up for negotiation and has a lot to do with scope and magnitude, but I'll let the mayor answer as well.
Thank you.
Just real briefly on infrastructure, the city and the CRA have already invested millions of dollars in the Northwest area in the infrastructure to enable us to get to the point where we can actually move forward with something like this. Now, there's still infrastructure questions that will have to be answered. Okay, we've got drainage issues, we got all kinds of stuff, but a lot of the infrastructure in the ground has already been done. It's been taken care of, and yes, we knew it was important as a city/CRA, that's the Community Redevelopment Agency. We knew it was important to have infrastructure there to attract anybody to the table. Because if you just say, well, here's some raw land, and guess what? We don't have any sewer pipes or water pipes or anything else to serve the area. It's up to you. Well, then all we wind up with is just selling the property to them. And that's not what we envisioned as a city. We envisioned a partnership so that we participate in the benefits long term. So that's why we did a lot of the infrastructure up front, but there's still more to be done. And as Phil talked about, it's a negotiation, figuring out who's going to pay what going forward. But a lot of it's already been done.
So we the taxpayers have already paid for that previous infrastructure, is that correct?
Yes, that would be accurate. Yes, through various funding agencies. Yes.
Jocelyn Jackson. I would like to say thank you to the CRA for being so diligently working with RocaPoint. I also would like to thank RocaPoint for coming here to contribute some of your dollars to match with our dollars to beautify our community. So I want to say thank you. On the other hand, I also would like to encourage all of our food truck vendors who own food trucks, who own food trailers, to get your licensures in order, your certifications, so you'll have an opportunity. This is an outstanding opportunity to have your own commercial spot, retail spot, and the ones that does have they self-employed, that have their businesses, so you can take advantage of this opportunity. And also our local contractors, they get your certifications in order, your certificates, whatever is required, so you'll have a potential chance to participate in this project. This is an outstanding project. Also, I want to give a shout out to Miriam too, because she's also doing the building as well, for you to get your information together. And I'm so excited about this project. I'm very excited about this project because we go and visit other cities. We don't have to vacation in other cities. We can vacation right here in our own city. So go Pompano, and thank you for taking the time out to share your dollars with us. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Max Goldstein. I want to start by thanking you for this presentation. I think it's a beautiful development. I think the density was really needed there, the housing, we're in a crisis. My question though is, how exactly are we going to encourage the future residents of this community and the future customers and tenants to take transit to get here instead of driving? I mean, SFRTA, which is the operator Tri-Rail, FDOT, which is our transportation agency, and Broward County Transit have been saying that the more parking you add to a place, the less people are going to take transit. So they've been trying to limit how much parking is nearby transit stations. But then you had the slide here that said parking, 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 parking everywhere. And I'm like, is anybody here going to be incentivized to take that future commuter rail or to take the bus to get here?
Thank you. That's a great question. I think part of the reason you saw parking in a handful of different locations on that exhibit was because several of those were apartment type, structures where, residents obviously need a place to park their vehicles. I agree that, from a mixed use development standpoint, especially one that has the luxury of having the opportunity to have transit in the form of commuter rail and bus, it's a major opportunity. And not a lot of projects have that access to multimodal transportation. And I think that's something really exciting for this project, that you do have the close proximity to the commuter rail. I think it's a combination of, factors that need to be taken into account in order to achieve that. To your point, it is very challenging to, convince people that they could rely on that, but it's certainly feasible, and it's something that, it's a combination of getting the information out there so people know that they can access this property via rail or bus. It's making sure that there's, branding and marketing out there to make people interested in it. And it's also about making it convenient, which is why it's so important what the work that the city has been doing in terms of making these intersections walkable and, continuing in that vein to make sure that walkability is a part of this. I completely agree. It's a very important, aspect, and it's something that, we want to continue to explore.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Kinchin, and this is a beautiful project. But I'm concerned about there are going to be some people that are going to be displaced, because with this type of project, insurances is going to go up, taxes is going to go up, and we already have people that are barely getting by. There are going to be people displaced. Are we considering the kind of thing that is going to help them to get in other places so that they can be comfortably placed without adding to the finances that they are already having trouble doing? We're looking at some type of medium so that we can bring them some comfort too, the people that are, because Pompano is made of a lot of elderly people who's already on a fixed income and they can't handle any more, per se.
Right, that's a great question. And we've been pretty meticulous about counting actually how many, I guess mainly apartment even units are in this area here, which is a pretty limited number. And so the bigger question may even be more from that is, to be sure that there's an affordable component to the multifamily that's coming in. And that's not uncommon in anywhere we're developing around the Southeast now. That's really almost everywhere, that you have to make sure that there's an affordable component so that people that are living there already have an option, and that you have just school teachers, police, fire, just the everyday people can be there too. And it really needs to be a development for everyone. It needs to work for everybody, and I would agree with that, and we'd be committed to providing that.
Also, we're looking at, are we looking at development for the new professionals or the young professionals that coming back from the schools, from the military, that type of thing, that want to live in Pompano rather than move out west?
Well, yeah, and I think there's enough multifamily units here where you can really cover the bases, as far as, the young professional, onto a more affordable product. And so that's the goal, is to have it, a community that works for everyone, or multifamily in this development. So.
My name is Susan Perrin. I live in District 1. With the beautification that's going on Atlantic and Dixie, we're taking out lanes, and looking at the rendering, it looks like there's one lane of traffic going each way on Martin Luther, and I'm concerned about the evacuation within a hurricane here, because while we're taking out lanes, it looks like from this we're going to have a lot of more people coming into the city. And what are your projections for the people in these office buildings, and what is your master plan for evacuation with the less roads being available for the citizens?
And that's a great question. And Danielle's the former chief planner from St. Johns County, Florida, so I think she'll be the appropriate person to answer this one.
Thank you, Phil. Those types of questions that you're raising are, obviously very important when designing a project, especially, one like this. The renderings you're seeing here, they're conceptual, and obviously what you're seeing from now until actual, construction, if we get to that, point in our negotiations, it's something that will change and evolve over time, and it will definitely take into account, these things you're talking about. I do want to just point out that, we're not proposing changes to Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard with this.
Well, there's parking here on the street now, and one-way traffic.
The renderings, again, are conceptual, and what we're showing is the existing on-street parking that's up and down Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. And if we had the opportunity to expand on that, I think we would. But I understand your point. I certainly understand and appreciate what you're asking. We have a lot of different things that are advantageous with this particular location, and one is the proximity to I-95. I think that's a huge component for this particular project in light of, what you're mentioning, hurricanes and things like that. But I can assure you that as we're going through this process and developing it and fine-tuning it, these are the things that we're going to be talking about with both the city of Pompano Beach, I'm sure Broward County. We have many components, review opportunities as well with these different jurisdictions and agencies that are going to have those exact same questions, and we're going to have to respond to that and make sure we have adequate responses to it. So I promise you, we're just as early in the process. As we evolve, these types of things will definitely be taken into account.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Jim Caffrey from District 1. I've got a couple questions. I think it's a wonderful project. I love to see growth, but also sensible growth. Your office park in Georgia, what year did you start leasing the commercial units?
And we have two mixed-use projects in Metro Atlanta. One was probably 2019. Are you talking about the one that's backed by Morgan Stanley, or the adaptive reuse one?
It was the first one, the one that you said there was 100% leases were signed.
Oh, so that's where Morgan Stanley is. The development opened in 2019. So we would have started leasing in 2017, 2018.
Right.
But there's, it's interesting. So the pandemic, and so on, and how that's changed, office. What's happened is, as people are coming back to work, and we see this across, we're fortunate that we have a lot of great mixed-use projects, so our offices are really strong. But on the suburban standalone type of stuff, that's much more challenged. But if you can get into a vibrant environment, we've seen that the offices it's really a have or have not, right now. So that thing has remained, as we've lost tenant. We had one tenant move out there and place it on the sublease market because they were consolidating into a place in town, and it rented the same day. About 8,000 square feet. That's the demand for a place where you have things to do. If you're going to get out to an office where people are, and actually I think these other offices are going to come back too, if they're in good locations. But where we are right now in time, the locations are trying to be at places where the employees can get out and walk and do things, get something to eat.
But when you drive up and down the I-95 corridor, there's so many vacant office buildings and office space. It's
Right.
just interesting to see that we're going to think maybe possibly we'll attract more people.
I would say you're going to, quality office wants to be in quality locations.
Okay.
And we do know, and we're already seeing it across the country, we're going to lose some of the, lesser quality offices in lesser quality locations, because there's going to be this, desire to be in the areas that are more activated. That being said, I do think, and this is almost an aside, but that if it's a good location on office, that those are going to come back.
Okay. Second question real quick. With the amount of parking, I live out on the beach. So we come out here for dinner or for a concert. We drive through traffic to get here. We pay to park. I'm assuming that's not going to be free parking. It'll be pay to park where everywhere else is. Would that probably be so?
I would imagine. I mean, we haven't figured out how all the decks will work, and some could be municipal, but I imagine they're, charging as well. So it'd probably be a pay to park. It would be would be my thoughts.
Okay. And the last,
on the decks, on the parking decks.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the last is kind of aimed at the city too. Today, at about 1 o'clock, I left. I had lunch with some friends, and I came west on Atlantic and north on Dixie. And to go 2 blocks, it took me about 13 minutes. And people behind me were cutting through on side streets. It was terrible. And all I could do was sit there and think, what if there is an ambulance or a police car that needs to get through? And I think with this new development, which is going to be great, but you're narrowing the streets and increasing the population, which makes no sense. And somebody brought up light rail. Is there going to be a new light rail station in Pompano? Hope, or there is?
Well, nothing is set in stone until it's built, of course, but it is hoped that, yes, we will have a light rail station just north of Atlantic Boulevard. That's either north or south. We're not exactly sure, but that's up to other governmental jurisdictions. But, yes, that is the hope.
And the hope is that people get off the light rail and walk west across Dixie Highway through the traffic, through on pedestrians, and hope they don't get hit by a car, correct?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we're working on pedestrian connectivity. Yes, sir. That's to make it safe for people to go all throughout this area. That's part of the plan. That's why we're going through the construction we're currently going through, is to make it pedestrian friendly, but still be able to get traffic through there. Right now it's construction. I feel your pain. I go through it too.
But heaven forbid there's an accident and a pedestrian gets hit and there's an ambulance that cannot get through. Think about that.
Very good. Thank you.
Commissioner Fournier, pedestrian bridges. I always like that idea.
Hello, my name is Shanice Jenkins, and I am both a resident in Pompano Beach, Florida, but I am also a new business owner in Pompano Beach, Florida, and a young entrepreneur who has started a content studio, an event space, and a hub for other entrepreneurs like myself. And my business is on Dixie Highway, and my question is, what is the plan for current businesses that are on Dixie Highway that may be, businesses may fall in whatever this new build is, and I absolutely love the elevation and the vision, but what happens to those businesses that are there? Are those buildings being bought, and would the entrepreneurs or business owners that are there have an opportunity to be a part of what's going on and what that plan kind of looks like?
And I may let Danielle answer a little bit as well on the as far as the plan and what we're impacting and what we're not, or what we would plan to. Okay. But we certainly think that this is the downtown Pompano, as we envision it, is really made up of local businesses, shops, restaurants, because really that's, number one, that's the main driver of the economy overall anyway. But also that's kind of the places where people want to be, is where the local stuff is. I don't need to drive somewhere special to go to, a national chain. And we do believe that, the backbone is, local establishments. As far as your question on Dixie and how that, and we do think there'll be opportunities through the CRA and otherwise for, small business, people to get in. Okay. But as far as the exact locations, I don't know, Daniel, do you have an answer on that?
I think that as we go through this process, we're going to hear from many people, like yourself, that have questions. Obviously, I'm not certain exactly where, the property is that you're describing, but yeah, as we go through these process, we're going to have people just like you, coming to ask us questions like, I'm affected by this, how can I be involved, or how can I participate? And those are certainly things that, we're welcoming to discuss with people, and, I'd be happy to chat with you a little bit more if you can, give me a little information on it. So thank you for your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue in Pompano Beach, District 3. I saw the slide earlier. How many blocks north of Atlantic do you expect to do all this build-out? I was trying to count. And also, have all these properties been purchased, or you're looking to purchase more in this area? Because you're taking out a pretty good area of this northwest area, and judging by this group, I can guarantee you at least 90% do not live in that area, and out of the 10%, out of the 90%, very few ever even go in this area. And it's a shame that it's not 90% that live in this area are not here today. So how much of this area is being, how many blocks north? This would be Atlantic, I guess. So how many blocks north are we going?
Thank you for your
Because
question.
this is gentrification on steroids.
So just to give you some clarity on, your question, the east-west that you're seeing is Atlantic, and then north of that is Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Atlantic right here?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So 1, 2, 3, what is that, 5 blocks north we're going?
The next road that's just north of that is Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Okay.
So where you're seeing basically that large white building that's toward the top of this exhibit, that's Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard east-west. So I would just like to point out that, the city has been in the process of acquiring, and assembling this land for some time now. They have properties that are north of Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, but in our project, what we're mainly focused on are those areas that are between Atlantic, Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, and just a little bit north of that, fronting that area. And then, of course, those areas that are east of Dixie, and mainly in the area of Old Town, and also where we're currently standing. And again, I just want to point out your question about the displacement. Right now, we're looking at a lot of, properties that are in disrepair. There's a lot of opportunities with this project that will bring value to this community. It will bring job opportunities. It will become vibrant. And I think that, where we're currently at, it's just a hard place to be and to continue to be. So I recognize, what you're saying. I think that, with this project, there's not a lot of residential units in this area that we're talking about. As I mentioned, the city's been actively working on assembling these areas for some time now. But second, there's a lot of opportunity for people that are in this area.
Okay, and also, I know a lot of people that live in this area, and they are very happy with the Pat Larkins building. Is that Pat Larkins building going to stand and stay as it is currently in its location? Because the people in this area do really like that building, and it is one of the very few city-owned buildings, along with Emma Lou Olson, that is used often.
Yeah, and we've heard that. There's a lot of use on Pat Larkins, and that's going to be an important piece to either stay or be improved upon. We've heard, statements that it's hard to get bookings there, because it is so heavily used. And so, we're looking at how does it stay in its current form, and do we add to it? Do we go ahead and build it newer and bigger, or how does that happen? But again, it's conceptual at this point, so we haven't, and that would be something the city would be involved in. There's been no decision on that.
Okay, the last question I have is, no, please don't laugh. Are you taking out the KFC, the Taco Bell?
I'm going to give the hard question to Danielle here.
And we have the racetrack gas station on the corner.
Well, actually, I used to be in-house counsel with Racetrack, so I can assure you we're not buying a Racetrack gas station, because they're not a seller.
What about the Taco Bell and the Miami Subs?
They generally are not either.
They're going to stay where they're at?
I'd almost no opportunity to buy those.
All right. I got more, but I'll let you go next.
Serica Peterson. I have a question about your activation. At what point do you start activating, and then what is the plan to roll out activation for this project?
And either one of us could answer this, because the activation is so important on these type of projects. And so really, you start with over a year before you're going to open. you start figuring out what works for the community. Like what are the kind of events that that you want to have, and then basically you have at least one marketing person, and you start setting up, because when you open, you want to open with events that to be pretty well programmed. And so really we go out way in advance and figure out what the best way is to activate, and then you're doing it from day one. Do you want to add to that, Danielle? Or yeah, I think that.
So you're saying 1 year from when
from open date, because for that
of
you're talking
it being built.
Oh yeah, because you're activating at the point that that you have a decent amount of construction done. At least your placemaking has been done, on the main area.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're out about a year ahead of that, figuring out what the events would be and how they how to program them and how to schedule them. Not how to, but make sure they're scheduled.
All right.
So
So I do want to go back to, this is the Northwest District, which is a historically black district. So I do want to point out the cultural significance to this space and how much of this design will have cultural influence of that area, but also historic influence on there. And then when we talking about building and all of these jobs, I really want the conversation to be had with young black people from the area about equity and ownership and not just jobs, because they have great ideas too, and I want to make sure that we're creating space at the table for our young people to be those innovative people who help build this. So what is your plan to bring them to the table in representation, that they can see someone that looks like them build something like this?
Right. And I think you have the whole spectrum of jobs, right, on here, and a number of, we expect it mainly to be small business, owners. So as the people, whoever it is, your best small businesses are the local people, so that people that are coming in from the county and the city and so on are having a different kind of, somewhere interesting to go. The national retailers and the national people, don't really, whenever we're doing let's put it this way, whenever we're doing a project with national people, we're always trying to get the local people in, because that's who people really want to see. Mm-hmm. And so there'll be a lot of work, outreach here to make sure, and we think that this lends itself to real local type of, business owner. But you want to speak?
Thank you. I just wanted to add on that I'm really glad you brought up the cultural significance and the historical significance, because, one thing that I've found, really interesting is that I've met a lot of people, in the last year, from the city of Pompano, and the roots are very, very, very deep. It goes back decades, and I really enjoy and appreciate everyone that's talked to me and told me about their lineage and the decades of history and the generations and, the agricultural component, the farmers. There's a lot of history here, and I think that, as we continue to work through this, it's something that we need to have constant, involvement and discussion, so that this is reflective of that. That is a voice that's heard in that. So I appreciate you bringing that component up, because I think it's a very important one.
Last question I do have.
Well, and I can add a little bit more to that, because I think there is, as far as art and streetscapes can always represent cultural, things. And I think that's a big place where the discussion is to be had, on that. Sorry.
So the last question I had, I do appreciate this project coming at a time right now. It's gonna be hard. I'm not gonna, skate away from that, but change is uncomfortable. So, everybody's uncomfortable right now. What is the messaging that RocaPoint, you're being the new partner? We've been here with the city and CRA. We know Nguyen, we know the mayor. What is your representation going out and saying to make us comfortable with RocaPoint? When I say us, the community,
right.
Getting into that community and telling us who you are,
right.
Because we got an election coming up for them, so it's you that we're going to be stuck with.
I hate to say stuck. That sounds more like my wife, probably. But I think it's a good question. I think the overall vision is to create a development that works for everybody. Because if it doesn't work for everybody, it's not going to work for anybody. And so that's really the vision and the goal. Thanks.
Good evening again. I'm going to make this my last appearance here, but I do want to kind of, where possible, lay the framework for some other things to come. part of what my concern is that you develop some type of relocation program. It's going to happen. It's going to be inevitable. So we just need to talk about it and put on the table that you need to have a relocation program. In addition to that, I'd like to hear some more discussion about how some of these amenities are going to be effective for low to moderate income people also. It is quite obvious that the attractions are multifaceted, but I'd like for you to keep those particular components in mind when you start developing the various attractions for the area.
Yeah, and I'll say, in the developments we've done, basically a lot of times the activation's free. You know, I mean, you might pay a nominal amount for a certain game league or something like that, but otherwise, it's a public place. People walk around, and you want people to come and stay and, have something to do.
Good evening. My name is Alfred Lipschultz, president of Aquathan Corporation on Andrews Avenue. I'm really excited about the project, but what I haven't heard yet is, when is this marriage going to happen? What's the timeline for finishing the development design and breaking ground for phase 1, and what do you anticipate for phase 2?
I would think that we'll have a continuing discussion with the city, and over the next several months, figure out if we can get to an agreement, which hopefully we'd be able to, and we've been successful in the past. And then, your phase 1, which would be really infrastructure and, city hall and probably other civic things that need to be done up front, I would say probably 5 years. Because you have to do infrastructure, and that would include all the infrastructure for the other pads, to go vertical, if that makes sense.
So 2029 is when you're looking to build up?
Well, no, I think you're done in 2029 with phase 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Mary Phillips. I live here in Pompano Beach. And the thing that I've been requesting for quite a few years now is business condos so that some of our businesses can own the facility that they occupy. And I just want to know, do you think that's possible with the project that you are creating for us?
Well, yeah, I think especially at the state of the planning we are, anything's possible, because we're in a partnership also with the city and CRA, and then for our own accord, it's important to promote the small businesses. And so I think, business condo type situation is certainly a possibility if that's, what is wanted there.
Okay, and the other thing is, would there be any, I know this is probably something the CRA would have to do, give special consideration to the local small businesses that are already here in the community that would like to occupy or rent some of the spaces that you all have? Do you think that would be feasible?
Right, and I do, and we have had discussion with that, with the city and CRA, and we do think there'll be a program for that. And again, as I've said a few times, I think that the attraction is going to be the local restaurants and businesses, and then building really quality civic and other uses around that. Okay. But the real, the heart of it's going to, and it always is, of a successful development, is the local nature of it.
Okay. And if most of the development going to be mixed, are they going to be, because I know that this is what's going on now, they're building apartments on top or condos on top, and then on the bottom are the businesses. So most of your buildings are going to be done that way, correct?
I'd say a good number, but we also have one story. I mean, that's where, that's part of the placemaking. It can't all be just, an apartment or office building with something, like New York City, something at the ground floor.
Right.
We're much more interested in how the streetscape looks and feels.
Okay.
And so we'd want, the office or apartment or hotel, whatever it is, likely in a lot of cases to step back. And in some cases, it's just to be really low rise, 1 and 2 and maybe 3-story. Okay. You've really got to mix it up to make an interesting place.
Okay.
And so it's not, we try to stay away from, I know what you're talking about, from just, vertical height
Right.
and something on the bottom that you hope works. Right.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right.
I just wanted to add one last point. For those of you who maybe felt a little uncomfortable with public speaking, we do have 2 large flip books that's in the lobby area. If you would like to, leave us a note or, write your thoughts down about the project, we encourage you to do so. And again, I just wanted to thank you all for your time here today, and I'm going to pass this over to the mayor. Thank you again.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you both for being here, and thank you for what you've done so far. I just want to make a couple of quick points. I know there's been some questions, about local businesses and things of that nature, and also local residents. The reason behind this is us. And nothing personal. It's not about RocaPoint. It's about us. It's about the city of Pompano Beach. It's about our businesses. It's about our restaurants. It's about our residents. That's why we're doing this. Do I think that there's a place in this development for the young lady who is an entrepreneur out there? Absolutely, there is. And I hope there's a lot more like that. That's why we're doing this, is to promote our city, our people, our businesses. And this is yes, absolutely. That's really what it's about. This gives us an opportunity to really give some juice to our economy in the city of Pompano Beach and help those folks who do want to open businesses and want to employ people. And yes, want to be part of this process going forward. That's why we're doing this. It has nothing. I don't get paid extra for doing this. Neither does Commissioner Fournier. We're doing this because we love our city and we want to see better things for those who are here and those who are going to be coming. And yes, thank you for the timeline. That's very important for folks to realize how soon this is going to come or how far out this is. But this is a long-term project. But thank you all for being here. I just want to point out, if you know people who are interested, who weren't here tonight, we have another episode tomorrow night. It's the same thing, basically, and that will be at the Olson Center. So if you know people who want to see this, it's going to be at the Olson Center tomorrow night. But also, if you know folks who want to see this, want to understand this better, it's going to be rebroadcast on the city's website also. So you'll be able to see everything that took place tonight. I'm not sure how soon that's going to be up, probably another couple of days, maybe a week. But yeah, people who are interested, they can get it. But thank you all for coming out tonight. This is critically important for our city. It's important that you all stay engaged. If you have questions, please let me know, let Commissioner Fournier know, let city staff know. We are here. We represent you. This is a long-term process. We want to make sure we get this right for all of us, and that includes RocaPoint also, because without it being right for all of us, they can't survive, they can't thrive, they can't help us realize our vision. And that's what it's about, folks. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, city staff. Thank you, RocaPoint. And have a good night.